Hello Internet, and welcome to Clique Theory, the one-stop YouTube shop for music, memes, and ridiculously overanalyzed discography lore. No kidding, the amount of time I've spent scrutinizing the Blurryface album alone is ridiculous, never mind adding Old Goner to the mix or every other album they've released. But no, today's focus is on the third track of the Blurryface album, and one of the most popular, especially of late, Ride. It's no secret that Ride was kind of the anthem of the summer of 2016. It might have been released as a single in May of 2015, but it became service to US contemporary hit radio in April of this year, and rose to the top of the alternative charts that same month. It even passed Stressed Out for fastest flight to the top of the charts, taking 11 weeks, when Stressed Out took 13. Alright, so Ride is an incredibly popular song. It's easy to see why. The relaxed reggae-style melody is really easy to get into, and the lyrics of the chorus are easy to take in. I'm taking time on my ride appeals to a lot of people, especially in a post-stressed out world of radio listeners who want to just sit back and relax for a while. But is that a good thing? Come on, I'm a theory show. You know the answer. Maybe it isn't. This is a theory I've been mulling over since I first started theorizing about the Blurryface album as a whole, piecing together how the songs fit into a very vague, abstract narrative, drawing evidence from past lyrics because Tyler Joseph can't go one song without referencing another song for some reason, and I've come to the conclusion that, like most 21 Pilots songs, the deeper you dig into it, the darker it gets. The first way to look at the song is through the lyrics. Ride opens up its first verse lamenting about how difficult it is to find peace, to stay in the sun, even going as far to mention fantasies of death, including the deaths of his enemies. We've seen content like this countless times, the importance of peace and car radio, pulling the steering wheel, but wait, whoa. Is Tyler Joseph fantasizing about the deaths of his enemies? That seems kind of violent and less of the stay-alive, hope-wielding proponent of peace we've all grown to know and love. Then comes the chorus. Now notice the wording of the phrase. I'm falling, so I'm taking my time on my ride. Falling, not sitting, laying, relaxing, he's falling. That's a pretty specific action, and if we know anything about this particular lyrical genius, it's that every word in every lyric is deliberate. Tyler's falling, so how does that constitute taking time on my ride? Which seems to be a reference to like handing over the wheel and letting someone else drive for a few miles, relaxing, taking a break. Wait, the driving metaphor. Sounds familiar, right? Well, it should, because it's a metaphor Tyler has used many times in many songs. Think of a car, a torch, a death, or car radio. Dang, this guy really has a thing for cars and using them as important symbols in lyrics. But these aren't the driving references I want to address. No, I want a more passive, carefree approach to the car metaphor rather than the act of driving in a car, torch, a death, and car radio. I'm talking about holding on to you. Think about the very first lines of the song. I'm taking over my body back in control, no more shoddy. Shoddy is a slang term that references calling shotgun, the passenger seat of a car. You aren't the one driving. Holding on to you is all about regaining control of yourself, of fighting your demons and staying strong. Why is this important? Because the chorus of Ride is the exact opposite. Think about it. Tyler explicitly states he's falling, and while he may be literally driving around to clear his head, metaphorically taking your time on your ride would suggest that you aren't controlling what's going on anymore. It suggests approaching your life and your problems passively rather than the active approach described in Holding On to You. Holding On to You is all about regaining control, and Ride is about relinquishing it. Now, relinquishing control isn't always a horrible thing. Take Lovely, for example. The lyrics implore the listener to try to love me and I'll try to save you. A request that isn't hard for the Clique, given everyone's undying devotion to these boys that sometimes verges on terrifying. Lovely contains an undertone of rest, of leaning on someone else for a while and letting them take care of you, or make you believe you're lovely. It even says, I'll take you on a ride, which, Tyler Joseph, can you please stop referencing your own songs? Like, I know Ride was written long after Lovely. Does that mean Ride is the anti-Lovely? Seriously, I can't even tell what references are intentional or unintentional anymore. Anyway, in situations like Lovely, relinquishing control can be a good thing. It can give you rest, which for those of us who struggle with everyday tasks due to crippling mental illness, rest is always a good thing, but the context of Lovely is far different from the context of Ride. Lovely is about showing someone that they're, well, lovely by taking care of them. But Ride? is a lot darker and a lot sadder. Look at the second verse. It's just one long rant about how it's much easier to say you'll die for someone than to say that you'll live for them. In the words of George Washington, dying is easy, young man, living is harder. Don't you just love multi-fandom references? Ride talks a lot about death, between the deaths of your enemies, sacrificial deaths to save loved ones, even the unspoken longing for it. He even admits it in the lyric, "I'd live for you, but that's hard to do." Even harder to say when you know that's not true. And for someone who is struggling so badly with something as mentally damaging and crippling as depression, it's no surprise that he can't bring himself to face his family when they ask questions about the content of his lyrics, as referenced at the end of the verse. Even harder to write when you know that tonight there were people back home who tried talking to you, but then you ignore them still. Now let's be real, a lot of Tyler's lyrics hint, or even explicitly state, mentions of self-harm or suicide. Look at songs like Guns for Hands, Fake You Out, Addict with a Pen, Car Radio, Friend Please, the list goes on. We could even look at his older songs from No Fun Intended, which the album title sure doesn't lie, for even more obvious references to death and self-harm. These thoughts haunt his head, and it's extremely evident from his lyrics. Why then is it such a bad thing for him to ride shotgun for a while? Shouldn't Tyler get some well-deserved rest? I mean, this guy clearly has a lot going on in his head, has a lot on his plate, and he should absolutely take a break and rest for a while. And you're right, he does deserve a break, Mr. Let's go on a million tours, one right after the other, and never stop. Seriously? Get some sleep, dude. Think about the bridge, the repeating lyrics. I've been thinking too much. Help me. Sure, overthinking is a widespread epidemic. I would definitely know. Thanks, anxiety. Really great. But let's look at other times Tyler has talked about thinking. Car Radio, most notably, equates thinking to being alive. Holding On to You claims we've been gifted with thought. Thinking is clearly, according to Tyler, a really good thing. So why would he say he's been thinking too much? One of the greatest struggles for people with any form of anxiety disorder is the tendency to overthink, as I mentioned before. I speak from experience with this one. Look at the placement of this lyric. It first comes into play after an entire super fast verse about all of his troubles with the concepts of living and dying for your loved ones, and a chorus. Then he claims that he's been thinking too much. This sounds a lot like a derogatory kind of thinking anxious and depressed brains fall into when coming to conclusions about really anything. Even as I type this theory up on Google Docs, I can't help but wondering every now and then if I'm just looking too far into it, if I'm just thinking too much. And that brings me to my final, most important point. Let's look at the context of Ride, because this is what troubles me the most about this song. Ride is the third track on the Blurryface album. Blurryface, an album all about a character Tyler created to represent his deepest insecurities, fears, and demons. If Tyler decides to ride shotgun, who would take the metaphorical wheel of his mind? Blurryface. Blurryface is everywhere in this song, not just in the context of the album. Remember that strange barking, grunting sound at the beginning of the song?
I just wanna stay in the sun where I find I know it's hard sometimes.
Turns out, if you pitch that sound up, it's Tyler's voice. Tyler's voice pitched way down, that's our Blurryface. It's almost as if Blurry is taunting Tyler, goading him into giving up the wheel, making it less of a relinquishing of power and more of a seizing of it. Even if we sidetrack a little bit and do a mini theory, this ties into my analysis of Fairly Local, the next track on the album, which I believe is not only Tyler addressing the fact that he has his demons and tussles with them, just like the rest of us, but is also Tyler actively fighting for control of himself again. We even very explicitly hear Blurryface make his voice heard again in Fairly Local, which would make a lot of sense if Tyler let Blurry take the reins just a minute ago and ride, and is now grappling for control of himself again. But hey, that's just a theory. A Clique theory. Thanks for watching.